to Jasmine's amazing yoga retreat. Some beautiful scenes behind me today. We've got a beautiful sunset going on behind us as well, and I hope that you can join me this evening to de-stress, unload the weight from our shoulders, and wind down for the evening. So, we're going to start off by loosening up the joints, and we're going to start off by loosening up our shoulders. So, follow me. Hands on shoulders, lifting the arms up. Like a chicken, doing some wings. We'll do a few forward, and then a few back. Loosening that joint socket in the shoulder. Ready to begin our yoga session. And now backwards. And what we'll do now is we'll wind our arms down and we'll do the arms as a whole. A few forward. Try and brush past those ears. Backwards. Amazing. Wiggle all of that out. We'll do something very similar with our neck now. So be very careful with this and be very slow so that you don't damage your neck. We're going to start with our chin in onto our chests and rolling our head around, making sure that your ear is touching with your shoulder, the back of your head touching the back of your neck, and again, everything is always touching, not everything is always touching, and very slow movements. With me now. If you hear any cracking, that's fine, that's normal. But listen to your body. If there is a tender spot that hurts, be extra careful with it. You can roll over that particular spot to try and knead it out, as I like to say. But if it's too sore, then leave it and stop with the neck rolling. And now we'll go the other way. As you can see, my ears are touching my shoulders, my chin, my chest. Feel all loosened out. Again, listen to your body. If there is somewhere hurting, you can roll over that spot very slowly to try and loosen it up and knead the pain out. But if it's too sore, then leave it and try massaging it with your hands. So we've loosened our shoulders and our arms, our neck and our head. We're now going to go and try and loosen the hips. So I like to stand sideways on my mat, my feet shoulder width apart, and we're just going to do some very simple hip rolling, like a hula hoop, an imaginary hula hoop. But the trick is we're going to go as full of a circle as we can, keeping your legs as straight as you can, all the way back as far as you can, all the way to the side, all the way forward, and all the way to the other side, as big as a circle as you can make. And now the other way. Again, go slow with this if you have particular hip joint pains. You can roll over those particular points, but stop if anything's really hurting. Alright, amazing. I think we've really sort of kneaded out all of the jelly around there. We're now going to do something similar with our knees. So essentially what we're doing is we're going top to bottom, just wriggling out all these joints that may be a bit stiff so that we don't damage anything when we're doing our yoga. So with the knees, Lift it up, and we're going to draw a little circle. This is again almost sort of working those hips again, but then what we're going to do is every now and again kick out slowly 2 times. So we'll do 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circle. You can hold on to something like I am for support. Kick 2 times. We'll do this one more time on this leg. 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circle, kick out 2 times. Again now on the other leg. Lift that knee up. Circle, 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 kick out 2 times. Circle, 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 kick out 2 times. One last time. 1, 2, 3, kick out 2 times. What I like to do is kind of wriggle the legs, shake it all out. Lastly now we will roll our ankles into some circles like this, like with the wrist. We may as well also do it with our wrists. So use one hand, hold on to something for support. We'll work on this side of the body first. Rolling your ankles like this. Mine click a lot, that's completely normal. If yours do too, that's fine. Unless it really hurts, then stop. At the same time, we'll roll our wrists out as well. A lot of people forget to sort of stretch their wrists out and their ankles. They're the most common places to sprain when doing yoga, as we do lean on them and rely on them for a lot of support. Now the other way. That's it. Beautiful. Now we'll go on to the other side. Side. Beautiful. Sorry if you can hear any cars. It's really immersion. Let's go on. So I think that was a really great way to warm up all of our joints, especially. But now I think our muscle groups need to be warmed up as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a few standing up sort of warm-ups and a few sitting down warm-ups. We'll start off by standing up, so you're already standing up, and then we'll head on down to the floor. If you struggle getting down to the floor and you can't, then I will think of some things that you can do standing up which work the same muscle group for you. So the first thing we're going to do is a very simple sort of hold on to something for support again if you need to, but a very simple holding one leg up and then balancing on one leg. But a really important key thing to do during this particular movement is try and push your hips out and push out your sort of thigh as well. And pull up as high as you can, and you will feel a big stretch all the way along here by pushing out your hips and this sort of thigh, and by pulling up your foot at the same time, you really feel a big stretch across your hamstring. Hold that for about 20 seconds or so. 1. I always like to give a little shake out afterwards. Makes it feel a little bit nicer. Now I'm turning to do the other side. Again, lift up, hold on to something for support, push out your hips and your upper thigh, and pull back your foot as far as it will go. Feel that big stretch all in your hamstring area. No, not hamstring, thigh. Hamstrings are behind. Ignore me. Beautiful. Give a good shake out. We do something very similar with the arms now. You probably have all done this before. We're going to go like this, pull it across our chest, using this arm to lock it in place. Some people find that doing here is easier. I find doing it out here encourages a deeper and bigger stretch. Put your hand wherever and how far along your arm you feel most comfortable. Again, the more you pull this hand in, the more tighter you're going to feel this muscle stretching here. So just go as far as you're comfortable and hold. The most important thing is you're not wanting to get to a position where you're incredibly uncomfortable. You want to get to a bit where you feel the stretch. it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be painful. The important thing is holding it. If you can hold it in that stretched position for at least 20 seconds, then the more and more you do it, you'll find that you can pull it in deeper and deeper or hold it for longer and longer. So the important bit isn't how deep you can pull that stretch in, it's how long you can hold it for. Now we'll do the other arm. Remember at all times to keep on top of your breathing, especially when you're feeling a little bit discomfort, when we're holding a stretch for a while and it feels like it's going forever. Just bring your mind back to your breathing, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Fill those lungs up, hold it for about a second or two, and slowly exhale. Amazing stretches there. So now we're going to do another arm stretch, which sort of stretches this muscle instead of this one. Bring your hand over like so. You're just putting it to the center of your back like so. And the other hand is just going to very slightly push down on the elbow. Now again, push down as far as you feel comfortable, but I only really put my hand on it ever so slightly and I feel the stretch. So maybe just by doing this already is stretching it for you. That's completely fine. Now to the other side. Remember to try and keep your back straight as well. It's really good for your posture. Brilliant. Give your whole arms a good shake. Amazing. So now we're going to do another leg stretch. This again is sort of the thigh hamstring area. We're going to keep one leg straight and one leg bent, as you can see. And I want you to lean both of your hands onto the bent leg, not onto the straight leg, onto the bent leg, and sort of like sit down into this stretch, and you should feel a big stretch along the backside, along your hamstring. Just sort of, if you can go deeper, sit deeper into this stretch if you can. Keep this leg straight as you can, and this one bent. Brilliant. Now we'll do the other side, exactly the same. Hands on the bent knee and this one straight. Feel the stretch more on this side than I do on the other. If that's the case for you, it's completely normal. Brilliant. Give the legs a bit of a stretch. So we've stretched the front sides of our arms and the back sides. We've stretched the front sides of our thighs and the backs of the hamstrings. We're going to do a few sort of calf stretches, which are these muscles here. A lot of people forget about them. We're doing a very simple one here. We'll go on the toes, stand on the toes for about 5 seconds, and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down. So up onto your tippy toes for 5 seconds, and down for about a second or two. Up again. And down. We'll do a few more of those. That's why it was really important for us to stretch out our ankles. As you can see, we're putting a lot of sort of weight on them right now. And if you have quite particularly weak ankles, you might find that just doing them one at a time, switching between the two, might help. You can take this one a bit faster if you like. This is an alternative. But if you've got strong enough ankles, then standing onto the two, stretching up as high as you can onto your tippy toes, stretch, stretch, stretch. Stretch, stretch, and down. Roll out your ankles again if they're feeling a little stiff and a little sore. You might even feel a little bit of pain in your toes. That's fine. Just give them a bit of a squeeze and a stretch, like this. Brilliant. So now, head on sideways along your mat, and we're going to do a sort of kind of like side lunges almost. So one of your knees are going to be bent, and you're going to lean towards that knee, and this knee is going to be completely straight. So like this. Again, hands on the bent knee, leaning all your weight towards this one. You should feel a big stretch all along the inside of your thigh here. Again, a different muscle group we're stretching now. And we'll hold this. Try and keep your back a bit straight. You can see that I'm leaning forward, but it's all straight. Widen the pose if it's better for your balance, and hold. A lot of people tend to like look down like this, and that sort of ends up curving the back. It's really important to try and keep your back straight, head up. I like to sort of like bounce into the stretch a little bit, and I can find myself going a little bit further each time. Take your mind back to the breathing. Now to the other side, exactly the same. Bending this knee and the other one straight. You'll always find that one side you can stretch further than the other side. Completely normal. We'll go back to that other side again quickly, and we'll do a few bounces into it. And hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side. Do a few bounces into it. And hold. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Give your legs a bit of a shake if you need to. Brilliant, so we've done all of the standing up stretches that I wanted to guide you through today. We're now going to head on and do some stretches down onto your mat. So if you want to head on down with your knees, make sure you're all comfortable on the ground, get some assistance to get down to the ground if need be. And again, I will be thinking of alternative moves you can do standing up if you can't get down to the ground. Some of them there aren't alternatives for, so you can just sit that sort of round out. So move all the way to the back of your mat, and we're going to do what we call sort of a child's pose. No idea why it's called child's pose, but I'll walk you through it. It's a really good upper sort of back stretch. So keep your legs not close together like this, but sort of shoulder width apart, like so. Sometimes this is a stretch enough for some people, and if this is a stretch enough for you, then stay here and just stretch out the thighs for a little bit longer. But those of you that can go further, we're going to bring our hands out like this and sort of lay forwards, and you might find that you might need to open up your legs a bit more to sit your bottom in the inside. If that's the case, go for it. Find what's comfortable for you in this particular region. And I'll show you exactly how it is. We're leaning forwards, face on the ground, hands stretching forwards like so, and you want to sort of pull and breathe in to your back. And I know that sounds weird, breathe into your back, what do you mean? But when you're taking an inhale in, imagine it going into your back, and you will feel all the muscles sort of, it's a really beautiful feeling. It's great for stretching your upper back, especially if you've been at a desk hunched over all day. So we'll do this, and we'll hold the child's pose for 5 seconds down, and then you can come back up again, take a breather, and we'll do that about 3 times. If you are standing up and you want a standing up alternative, what to do is, again, have your legs sort of at a shoulder width. If you want them wider, have them wider, and sort of lean forwards and sort of try and you don't want to actively touch the ground, but you want to sort of bring your shoulders to the ground. You don't want to bring your hands to the ground. Try and pull your shoulders to the ground. Again, breathing into your upper back, and you will feel that upper back just sort of almost completely open up and release. So if you can't get down to the ground, do this one instead. I'm going to be on the ground. So we're going to do about 3 child's poses, holding for about 5 seconds for each one, really stretching, and we'll get back to you once we've done that. Reaching forward with those hands as well really helps deepen the stretch. And slowly come up. You don't want to very quickly come up because you can risk hurting your back. Take a couple moments to breathe here. Breathe in and down again. Exhale as you come up. You don't have to hold your breath down there. I do and I don't. It's completely up to you if you can. You can hold your breath while you're down there, then exhale as you come up, and only take those 2 breaths every time you do it. One more time. There we go. So now, let's head on to our bottoms. Might need to roll out those ankles again, because we were again putting all of our weight onto the fronts of our feet here. So roll out your ankles if need be. So now we're going to get back into that position again that we were for child's pose. But this time we're going to get into a different position, which we call cobra. And I guess the reason why it's called cobra is you kind of look like a cobra snake in this position. So I'll show you how to get into it. So you come all the way forward. So you want to bring your stomach and your hips down to the ground. So you're like this. And just raise your head up and sort of like try and fold yourself backwards in half. And you look like a cobra. When you're coming out of the cobra, do it slowly again so that you do not hurt your back. What a lot of people tend to do is go from cobra to child's pose, and fluctuate between the 2. We'll do that in a moment as well, but we'll do 3 cobras on their own, and then we'll do some between child's pose and cobra. Now if you're standing up, for child's pose, you were doing this. For cobra, I want you to come up, hold your hands like this, pull them out, and sort of bring your shoulders in, look up, and you'll feel that almost exactly the same stretch. This is what it looks like from the front. This is what it looks like from the back. You should feel that stretch right between your shoulder blades and your upper back. And when we are fluctuating between child's pose and cobra, you can do this. Down like this, slowly roll up from the hips all the way up to the shoulders. So you're not coming up like this, you're coming up like a slow roll. And then you can clasp and come up like this. And then again, back rolling down. So hopefully that works for you if you're standing up. Should be exercising those same muscle groups we are on the ground. We're just also almost exercising our ankles because we're kind of almost leaning on them. So, back down on the ground. We're going to do 3 of the cobra. We're going to go into a cobra, hold our breath if you want, you don't have to, and hold that pose, breathing into our upper back, stretching up to the sky like a cobra snake for 5 seconds, and then roll back out to this position again.
take a couple minutes breathe, well, a couple seconds breather, and do it again. We'll do that 3 times. Once we've done that, we'll have a quick little 5-second break, and then we'll do the fluctuations between child's pose and cobra about 3 or 4 times. Right, ready for the first one. And exhale. And you see how I sort of roll back up again, and I roll into it. No drastic movements up and down and rigid like that. Imagine you're a wave, you're rolling into everything. Most of the time starting from bottom all the way up, because it's our neck and our back which we tend to hurt the most and strain the most. So if you're rolling from your hips and slowly up with your back, then you're going to not damage the back. Second one. Last one. Inhale. You can exhale here if you want. Inhale again. And exhale. Amazing. I'm going to go onto my bottom again and just roll up those ankles as we've been sitting on them. So hopefully that was okay for you guys, especially if you're standing up. Hopefully that was a good alternative for you. So now we're going to go into fluctuating between child's pose into cobra, cobra into child's pose into cobra. We'll do that about 4 or 5 times, and then we'll come out of the pose and take a breather. We're going to hold each pose for about 5 seconds again, or for however long you feel comfortable for. We'll start off by going into child's pose. So let's get back into the position again, like so, and into child's pose. Inhale. Exhale when you go into cobra, and when you're going into cobra from child's pose, come to like a sort of up dog pose first, and then hips down. And when you exhale from cobra to child's pose, again to this position first, and then bottom down for child's pose. And one last time into child's pose. And exhale. Onto your bottoms to roll out your ankles if need be. Roll out those ankles. All good. So, that was an introduction into child's pose and cobra. We'll do one last stretch today, and this one's going to be sort of testing your balance. And that's a really important thing to sort of integrate into yoga. As you know, those previous 2 stretches we did, we weren't really sort of balancing, we were just stretching. But the great thing about yoga is we're stretching through doing balance, and that can almost feel harder for some of us, like myself, but it does mean you sometimes end up going into a deeper stretch and practicing your balancing skills, which can be useful in any scenario. So we're going to go back to a standing position now. We're not going to do any more stretches down on the mat, so those of you that remain standing,
you don't need to worry about any alternatives. So this particular move, I believe, is called the crow. It may be called different in other areas or by other people. I also may have remembered it wrong. But essentially the reason it's called crow, or sometimes I almost like to think of it as like a flamingo, is we're sort of standing on one leg. This leg here is stretched out as far back and as high back as you can get it, and these here are sort of like our wings, and they're coming out to the side. As you can see, I'm falling over already. So it can take some time getting used to that balance and finding that part of your body where you can hone it, but you want it to be all one swift motion. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, and I like to sort of bend into it and look up as if you're a crow, and then we can come back down into it. And you can see when I came back down into it, I again bent the knees, hugged myself a little. It's all like everything is one swift motion, like so. It just prevents you from hurting yourself. Now you should feel this stretch along here, and when you're stretching this leg backwards, you might even feel a little stretch along there. When you're bringing the arms like that, you might feel a stretch along here and here. And again with your neck, if you point your face towards the sky, you might feel a little stretch in your neck as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our crow, hold for 5 seconds, hold longer if you can, hold it for 5 seconds, and then come back, hug ourselves, and we'll go straight back into it, and we'll do that about 5 times or until we fall over. Right, when you're ready, and if you do have real big struggles trying to balance, just do the crow with the one arm, and use one arm like this one here to steady yourself, or this one over here to steady yourself. So you don't have to fully go into the balance, but I definitely recommend you try any of these things. Right, when we're ready, breathe in, breathe out. One last time on this leg. You can give this little leg a bit of a kick out if you wish. And we're going to do the exact same on the other leg. I don't think I was holding that for 5 seconds. I probably was holding it for about 3, but to be honest, I would have fallen over if I held it any longer. Please hold it longer or do more of them if you wish so. Now on to the other leg, exactly the same. Breathe in. Breathe out. And again. Looking up towards that sky and out. One last time. You may find that you have better balance on one leg than you do to the other. If so, that's the case with me as well. So there we go. You have learned 3 yoga moves today. You've learned child's pose, you've learned cobra, and you've learned the crow. These are pretty simple beginner type yoga moves. If you can't do them, that's completely fine. They just say beginner because they do get a lot harder. So I think it was a really great introduction today as we watched the sunset and did it in the beautiful outdoors in the evening. If you want to cool down a little bit, the best thing to do to cool down your muscles and stuff is the same things we did when we warmed up. But I find that yoga is such a sort of, it's not very harsh on you unless you do have muscle problems or joint problems, so I don't find I need to do a cool down very often. Main thing for me is my ankles. I tend to just roll them out and roll my knees out a bit, like so. Sometimes my wrists if we're doing a lot of wrist ones, but we haven't done a lot of that today. Namaste. Sometimes what I like to do after a yoga session is lay straight on my back or lay in a sort of position where I'm hugging my knees into my chest. Put on some nice meditation music, or sometimes even nothing, and just listen to the birds and take in and just think about your day. Think about everything you did and everything you can improve on by tomorrow. I lay like that, sometimes anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. It's really therapeutic. And then I finish up my session. So if you would like to go ahead and do that afterwards, I definitely recommend it. Thank you very much for joining me today with Bubby Yoga Session. Namaste.